Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on wherever you find yourself in the world today. My name is Amy Leo, and you are listening to What We Should Have Learned in School. And I'm bringing back the guest format, which is something I haven't done in maybe over 6 months, but I'm very excited for it. Today's guest is Amanda Jones. She is an author, she's a coach, and she's a pretty fabulous human being. So, Amanda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Absolutely. And I know that, I kind of did a little tease so people might know what we're going to talk about today. But my first question for you, Amanda, is what do you wish that you had learned in school?
That all feelings are normal,
Mm.
all of them. Anxiety is normal, low moods are normal, not a problem. I think that is something that from the very young age we get conditioned into. Innocently our parents see us upset and say, oh no, let me make it better. And that comes from a very sweet place of not wanting to see somebody suffer. But I think it gets molded into this idea of uncomfortable feelings are not okay or normal.
Mm.
And so I wish that would have been something normalized. I think it's very important to understand that any kind of unease or anxiety is not only normal, but we're never locked into it. When we think something's abnormal, we feel locked into it. That's my experience.
Yeah. Can you say more about your experience kind of before you had this realization?
Well,
Maybe what life looked like?
yeah, I had eating disorders for 23 years, and I tried every sort of psychotherapy on the books. And again, the disease model was that you will have this for the rest of your life, and you are flawed, broken, not normal. Your feelings need to be managed, or else some horrible behavior will consume you. All of that, and that's not conducive to waking up to who we really are beyond any thought, feeling, experience in the moment. It kind of locks it in place again, right? So my experience coming across the principles behind how our experience is actually manifesting, it was revolutionary for me, because nobody told me about thought, for one thing. Even my therapists didn't realize that was the missing link. Once I had the insight of, oh, what, that it's actually, I'm feeling my thinking, and that is tossed around kind of sometimes as a cliche almost, if you're familiar with the principles. If not, that's pretty revolutionary to hear. But it's actually the only thing we can feel, and that it is being created within us moment to moment, and there's always fresh new experience coming down that river. It's when we stand in the river with our bucket and say, look at all these things that are wrong with me. Look, instead of dumping the bucket out, climbing out of the river, sitting on the banks and watching everything flow by. Now, that's not something that we can do. It is the way we are designed. But if you don't know that, you think it's your job to get in that river and sort through the little pebbles and the little pieces of sand and the rocks and the this and the that. That's where we get stuck, I think. So my experience was a huge awakening, and it hasn't stopped. And it does not, again, that does not mean that I am awake all the time to where my feelings are coming from. But it allows me to understand that Being human means having anxiety, having low moods, having depression, having a bad day. It's not a problem. It's a experience. It's not me. It's an experience.
That was really beautifully said. It's an experience. It's not me. When I used to work in traditional mental health as a social worker, and it was before I also actually investigated, well, actually, wait a minute, where does feeling actually come from? It seems so obvious now, but back then it wasn't,
No.
as you've alluded to.
No.
And
It's, yeah.
yeah, and again, it's like people are always looking to point each other. We're kind of all doing it in this glorious mess of always looking for circumstance where this happened. And I remember, I even knew then, though, I had a client that was 11 years old, and I was just talking, oh, wouldn't you like to go do this thing or that thing? I don't remember the exact context, but the words she said stay with me to this day. She said, Amy, I can't do that. I am bipolar. She identified sensation and symptom as who she was at the core.
Yeah. What I have seen in the traditional therapy model is that they try to sift through the form, what's already formed, meaning what's already been thought, what's already been felt, what's already been diagnosed and the behaviors. And that's a rabbit hole, to try to reform something that's already come out of the nothingness. Yeah. Instead, let's look to the source to see that there is an infinite potential of experience. Infinite. I mean, I don't even know the word to express the potential. But when we focus on the already formed, well, that's hard, and it's a struggle, and it doesn't feel good, and it doesn't feel good because it's not who we are. That feeling of struggle and pain is feedback pointing us back to who we are. It's supposed to feel like that to wake us up. It's not supposed to feel like that because something's wrong with us. It's waking us up. You can't put who you really are to who you aren't together and not feel pain. It's supposed to work like that, right?
Yeah. I'm curious if you can clarify just for Amanda, when you're talking about who we really are, what are your words to define that? I know you mentioned an infinite experience possibility, but is there another way that you would package that for listeners that are new?
Who we really are is beyond our personal thoughts and feelings in the moment. Beyond the personal, who we really are is the space in which all experience is experienced and created. We are the creators and the experiencer. But when I say we, I don't mean the personal we. It's us as the one consciousness. So what's looking through my eyes at your face right now is the same as what's looking through your eyes at me. That's the oneness. That's who we really are. And then we get to have your consciousness experience Amy-ness, and mine experience Amanda-ness, and it's an activity of that one consciousness. And that's why it's normal to have Amy-ness sometimes be anxious or depressed. She's having an experience of life, of humanness. Yeah.
It's amazing. I actually never had anxiety or panic attacks until after I came across what we call the principles, which is very
really
funny. Yes.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I'm so grateful for that, because what I could see could really happen, and I became a much more compassionate human being. I could see that I was beginning to fear being afraid. And I'm a very, the person I've created, my identity is someone that, I like to travel. I like to go to dance clubs. I like to go where there's lots of people. And I was starting to experience panic attacks in these places, like on a plane or in a nightclub. And it was so, revolutionary to me when I saw that connection. I realized, like, oh my gosh, I just had the feeling I'm trapped. I can't get out of here. And I noticed it was like a direct correlation between, okay, now I'm sweating, I can't breathe, and my heart rate is out of control.
Yeah.
You know, I guess my point in sharing that is that it wasn't the plane. I've been on planes
No.
hundreds of times,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. Yes.
And so
Yes. So
seeing that
yeah.
is
In
practical.
in my book, I give a metaphor of someone having a fear of flying, and the inside out nature of, so if our experience was outside in, then we wouldn't be afraid of flying even when not on the plane. Like if we were just in the airport. Some people who have a fear of flying can't even get into the airport.
Yeah,
Right? That's inside coming out. It's not the plane. You're not even on the plane yet.
exactly.
That's a very simple example of what I think you're saying, is that it's
Exactly.
so internal. But since everything is internal out, there is actually no real out there. It's what we're seeing, as one. But moment to moment, we see things, we don't see thought. So it's
Mm,
invisible. So it looks like it's the plane, and that's normal. It's supposed to do that. It's supposed to be real and normal, and it's supposed to look like it's outside in. But when you don't know it is, now you have a diagnosis of phobias and
absolutely.
fear.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that absolutely, I can see again in my own experience how that could build like a similar. I wasn't in the airport, but I remember I was like watching TV with my honey, and I started thinking, oh God, what if I get a panic attack on the plane again? And it was
Oh,
also that wisdom
yeah,
of what you just said, of like, whoa, 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 that is not going on. I'm not even on the plane.
yeah, yeah. Come back into the room with
Absolutely.
your
That's
honey.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. It's
yeah.
amazing.
The power of thought and the creative power of thought takes us into the future. It takes us on these amazing journeys into fantasy land that come alive in us through our sensory system as real. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing. It's a gift.
exactly.
But it's
Exactly.
not a gift if you don't know that that's how it's working. It's scary if you don't
Absolutely. That's I think one of my last questions is
know.
if someone finds themselves listening to us right now and they are in the throes of anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, eating disorder, enter any label, what would you want to share with them? What would be kind of the take home that you'd want to share with them today from our short conversation?
Well, in a nutshell, get suspicious that what you think is true is actually might not be. That what you think you see and feel and think about yourself might not actually be who you are. Just get curious, get suspicious. And the feeling will tell you. If you're having feelings of unease or anxiety or depression or urges, that's your beautiful feedback showing you what's going on in your imagination, in your thinking. It's not about what it's telling you about, it's about. Just get curious, get suspicious. Consider we've had it all opposite, all wrong this whole time. And people know this at a very deep level, that there's actually nothing wrong with you ever.
So refreshing to have you on the show, Amanda. And I'm so
You're
blessed
so
that, and grateful, blessed. Well, I guess we're all blessed. Where did blessed come from? I don't know. It just came out. I've been playing around with all kinds of different spirituality models now. I've
yeah,
actually gone back to exploring that without kind of the lens I
dogma.
used to have. Yes,
The dog,
the dogma
yeah,
or the atheist lens I used to have on it.
yes, yes,
So
yes, yes.
I think
So
it's been top
beautiful.
of mind. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But so grateful that listeners will be able to access what you have to share. And also, Amanda just released a book called Uncovery. So where can folks find out more about you and also maybe the book, Amanda?
The book is available worldwide on Amazon.com. It's in print
Perfect.
and ebook. And my website is uncoveryspace.com, and they
Perfect.
can reach me there.
Perfect. Simple. I'll put that in the show notes for folks. Thank you so much, Amanda, for
Thank
doing
you.
this. And I look forward to crossing paths with you again. I'm sure we
Let's
will
do it
continue to
again.
bump.
Let's do
Absolutely.
it. I love you.
I love you too. Rock and roll. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, Amanda.
Bye.
You've been listening to What We Should Have Learned in School, bite-sized nuggets of wisdom for your busy life. I have been your host here, Amy Leo. You can learn more about me and the work I'm up to in this wild, wild world at amyleo.com. I also really encourage you to subscribe to our podcast. You can do that by just clicking the subscribe button on however you're watching or listening to this now. And that way, you really won't miss any of these really easy to digest episodes that have the potential to make a genuine and lasting difference in your quality of life. Until next week, stay curious, take care of yourself, and keep rockin'.